Trump administration so far, what has it been like?
It's pretty amazing. Anyone who didn't realize the importance of the president need only look at the first week and the many things that are occurring that will affect our lives in incredible ways. We have our work cut out for us. I see my role as being part of the loyal opposition, certainly respectful of the fact we have a new president and new administration, but that our job is to reflect the values of this community and offer alternative, not alternative facts, but alternative points of view and solutions to our problems.
Why should Central Texas care about the policies that are coming?
Well, I think they will affect our lives in every way, from damaging our public education to affecting our economy and jobs. And certainly that's a big factor with reference to immigration and all of the policies that he has announced within the last week.
Doggett said something new, that he wanted to remove Travis County Sheriff Sally Hernandez. Have we heard that before, and is that a big deal?
It's really outrageous, and it seems to be kind of a continuation of the lock her up. Now it's lock them up, because some of his cohorts there actually went a step further and suggested we criminalize people that disagree with them on immigration, and who knows what's next. Fortunately, we don't yet live in a Putin-type authoritarian government, but we need to resist this trend. As far as the specifics of sanctuary cities, I think there's been incredible misinformation based on campaign speeches about this. There is no legal definition of sanctuary cities. There is no authority either at the federal or state level concerning sanctuary cities, and the best evidence of that are the efforts now renewed to pass a law in Washington and in Austin concerning sanctuary cities. Governor Abbott lacks the authority to deny a penny to Travis County or any other part of the state because they don't like his Republican Orthodox view of sanctuary cities and immigration, nor does he have any authority under the Texas Constitution, much less the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution, to remove Sheriff Hernandez or any other duly elected official.
The Texas Conservative Coalition told me yesterday that they agree with Abbott that this needs to be expanded to all public officials, which would include the Austin City Council with what they did, probably San Antonio. I'm sure they offer, I'll double check on that, but I'm sure they offer some services to undocumented immigrants. What about that?
It is very dangerous. It goes to the core of our democracy. The whole notion that if you disagree with me on a major public policy issue, I'll lock you up, will not work, will threaten our democracy. We need vigorous debate. We need loyal opposition regardless of which party is in power. Immigration is a very emotional issue to some people. I respect that. I respect the differences we have here, but it needs to be part of the public debate, not intimidation, not threats. And it is part of a pattern we see in the Texas state government that they're all for local control, except when local people decide to do something different than the Republican campaign platform.
Do people who came here illegally and are not citizens have constitutional rights like you do, like I do? Many conservatives say they don't, they're not citizens.
Well, I think the judicial history is pretty clear that they do have some rights. They might not have all the rights of citizens, but I believe it's important to protect and honor those rights. And the notion, for example, that a woman who brings her daughter here, who's been subject to sexual violence or to being recruited into a gang in Central America, who's not trying to avoid the authorities, but who comes and turns herself and her child in, that we won't consider their refugee status and will simply send them away from the border, ship them out immediately. That's not what America is about. That's not what the Statue of Liberty symbolizes to the world. So there are legitimate refugee claims, and then there are people that are coming here as economic immigrants. I'm the first to say we cannot have open borders. We cannot take everyone who wants to come to America. But we need to find a practical way to deal with immigration reform that grows our economy and treats these individuals fairly.
Democrats are now in the minority in D.C., in Texas. how can you stop this stuff?
Well, I was extremely inspired by the outpouring, especially here in Central Texas. Over 50,000 people turning up for a march. The question is that march a moment or a movement? I believe it has the potential of a citizens movement of holding people accountable. It is important not to just talk to people that you agree with, but to reach out and engage others. I think that this is no time for despair. It is a time for democracy. I can't do it alone. The Democrats in Congress can't do it alone, but if there's an engaged citizenry, we can make a difference. As far as the specifics in Congress, the need to have 60 votes for most of these measures in the Senate does provide a potential roadblock for Republicans, and in the House, it's a matter of respectfully presenting alternative viewpoints, alternative plans as part of a loyal opposition.
There are about 3 million more Democratic voters that voted this last election than Republican voters. But Democrats here they don't have the presidency, they don't have the House, they don't have the Senate. The voters are there. Why aren't Democrats winning positions?
Well, there's no doubt that President Trump is a loser of the votes of most Americans who did not approve of his presidency, and I think a loser with reference to many of his policies. Redistricting is a big part of it. The fact that here in Austin, though we're a large city, we happen to be the largest city in the country that does not actually control with its population any congressional district. So Texas is a good example of how you can slice up the state in ways that give Republicans an advantage. There are many other factors, including the Electoral College. What I would say about all that, we got to deal with reality. We're not going to change the redistricting. My district will stay the same. And so dealing within those difficult challenges, we have to present alternatives that appeal to more people and engage them to stand up to the worst of Trump and his Trumpettes and offer a different vision of what America is all about and where we can move forward and how we can stop the excesses and the worst parts of the Trump agenda. I really think that what President Trump has done within the last week is to mask a major breach of a campaign promise. The thing that we remember the most from last year, I'm going to build a wall and Mexico will pay for it. He has no idea how Mexico would pay for it. What he's saying is that you, the American taxpayer, have to pay every dime for a wall that his own advisors say won't work. It only works to fulfill this campaign promise and only a part of it. This is a very expensive wall. It's not the best way to secure our borders. And the notion that now he'll order taking money from other places to fund this unnecessary and foolish wall is really a breach of what he promised in a way that will harm our America and weaken our security.
Branching off that, another of his campaign promises that he has slightly changed in the White House, or in the last days of the campaign, was deporting everybody that came here illegally. Are you in a position to stop that?
Well, I think there will be major resistance to splitting families up from their American children and placing those children in foster homes or something. I think there'll be major resistance across the country to that. I hope that the administration doesn't follow that path, but I think that the orders that came out this past week are indicative of more to come, and that he's still trying to define what path he will follow on immigration. There is no practical way that he can deport 11+ million people from this country. It's just a question of what will the next step be after the folly of the past week.
Thanks for your time,
Thank you.
Congressman.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.